YouTube and Facebook.
I can pull it up right now.
Typically it takes a moment too.
Bear with us. Good morning. Good morning. Maybe we should have wore bright clothing. At least in my case, I look a little dark.
I just happened to today.
I have been laying out in the sun a lot lately.
I don't see it on our...
There we are. Oh boy, hey, we look pretty good.
Oh, we should probably open up the chat.
Can you test the audio there?
Oh yeah.
Excuse me, we're testing audio live.
There we are. Oh boy, hey, we look already good.
Yeah.
All right. And
seems like the
Auren,
audio
you want to say something?
Hello?
Excuse me, we're testing.
Yeah, this is a
But
test.
we gotta wait because it's lagging.
Well, there's a bit of delay.
I don't think I hear Auren well enough.
Seems like the audio.
She hasn't started yet.
Hello?
Okay, I heard you good there.
I'll
that
be
was good.
fine.
All right.
We gotta wait because it's lagging.
Do you have that chat thing by chance?
Oh, that's on Restream.
Yeah,
Let's bring up the chat interface. Hold on.
just so that if people say something, we'll be able to actually see it.
Keep watching. It's going to get more interesting than this. All right. Now,
Happy Tuesday.
There it is. Do you know where the chat interface was?
Yeah, presumably
New
there.
comments will display here. Could you... You'd
That's
think
up.
they would make that bigger than that. Guess I'll make that bigger than that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think we will be able to see your comments live. This is new. We're experimenting with this, so feel free to say something if you wish, and we'll be the experts when it's over. If we ignore you completely, then you'll know that we actually don't see your messages.
That's how you'll know.
Yeah. So let's introduce ourselves here. My name is Jay. I am the owner of CompuMatter here in Anacortes, Washington. And the purpose of this video, I should say, is to provide you the benefits of our combined experience, which amounts to probably 60 or 70 years of experience in the computer business. And moving down the line,
I'm Douglas. I'm manager down at CompuMatter and running the store for 20 years now.
And I'm Auren. I do on-sites and repairs here, as well as one-on-one training.
and marketing and the
A
creation
little bit
of
everything, really.
And on site.
of the background that you see here, and yeah, bring a little sunshine to CompuMatter.
Thank you.
All right, so who wants to start?
Well,
You got a list of things, so
I do.
we're gonna provide some subject matter, and we're going to then bounce around, bubble up off of that, and then of course if you have something you want to add to it, questions or what have you, feel free to ask them. If we can see them, we will respond to them. Otherwise, we'll ignore you completely. And
unintentionally, mind you.
so Auren, why don't you open this up with something
from the list.
wonderful?
Yeah, I mean, I figured we could start with Crowdstrike just because that was such an interesting, crazy experience for a lot of people. Luckily, not for a lot of small businesses or just end users, since it wasn't a Windows-related issue. But
Crowdstrike? All
Yeah.
right. Lay it on us. What do you got?
well, it was an outage across the board. A lot of people went to Home Depot and noticed that there were blue screens on their checkout screens and just all sorts of things like that. And unfortunately, it was something that had to do with a third-party software. I believe it's called Falcon. That was installed on a lot of enterprise-level devices. And across the board, they pushed out this new antivirus definition, and it's some sort of connection with System 32 and the drivers, and it just caused blue screens. So anytime you booted up your computer, it would just blue screen immediately. So you'd actually have to go into safe mode and delete that file entirely in order to get your computer back up and running.
Right.
So very manual, intense issue.
Yeah, CrowdStrike is, of course, a little bit old news by now. We tried to have our act together last week, but we didn't pull it off. CrowdStrike hit millions of computers. It started in Australia and worked its way across the globe as time zones had people waking up and going to work. Airports were down, subways were down, hospitals were down. Anybody that was using the CrowdStrike software to protect their infrastructure. You know, people might wonder why wouldn't there be preventions against this sort of thing? How could this possibly happen? CrowdStrike should have tested this on a rollout basis, and I think that's really where the fail was. They should have
Yep.
tested it on 10 computers at a time, 100 computers at a time, whatever, before they just rolled it out to the world. So there was definitely a failure there.
There's no excuse for not having a backup, though. You could have a backup. System restore points could save you in that sort of issue. Not that you can see any of those sort of things happen, but it's always good to have a backup.
Well, I
Sure.
think they have access to the kernel of Windows, so I don't know that a backup would not have. I don't think have restored that.
System restore and a backup just in case the system.
Well, it's
restore
always good
doesn't.
to have that. I mean,
Yeah.
in case of emergency, you got to have that in place.
Absolutely.
But their particular software was approved by Microsoft, has been vetted as being allowed to be installed and to have access to that kernel level of Windows. But that particular certification, it's a weird one where their software reaches out and grabs a file, a definitions file or something like that. And so it was that definitions file that was replaced with an updated version and caused the whole thing to go wonky. But
Yeah.
anyway, that appears to be under control, or at least people are healing themselves
Partly.
from that. The
Yeah.
average user, the homeowner, the average business, the average homeowner were completely
Yeah.
unaffected by it, but big businesses definitely took a beating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
else
what
for
else
us?
you got?
Oh, we do
Oh,
get some comments in.
Oh, we got Thomas Cruz is sending hugs. Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you. A little back at you. You're probably aiming for Auren, but we'll give you the hugs anyway. And wish I could have, but I have an appointment. Okay, enjoy the mangoes. Yes, I did get a shipment of mangoes in from Florida the other day. Good to see you, Priscilla. And we are seeing the comments. And,
Yeah, we see YouTube too. That's great.
and somebody saying they enjoyed the podcast. Stefan, keep it coming. So we appreciate hearing that. We're new at this. We're not professionals. We're not slick, but we're going to do the best we can. All right.
Always
What,
progress.
Hopefully
Yeah,
on a schedule for the most part.
what else you got?
Well, we could also touch base real quick on the Comcast issues, just because I'm curious if anybody else experienced that except for our little bubble over here in Anacortes, Washington.
Okay, so this is for people that have Comcast. It's not going to be everybody, but there's been a common problem that has reared its ugly head lately that we see in the store when people are coming in because something's not working. So
Right. And as far as I know, this issue may be resolved, but I believe it was like a week or two ago. If you have a Comcast email address, I noticed that sometimes users would have issues actually adding their Comcast account to their phone email programs or Thunderbird or Outlook, or it would just not let you send any email at all. And I noticed after working with a lot of people, it actually was an issue on Comcast's end. And the technicians, they didn't really know how to discuss or what was going on. But I noticed a couple days later, a lot of these people that came in with those issues, it just magically disappeared and you were able to add those accounts again. So I was just curious if anybody else with a Comcast email had experienced that or if that's still an ongoing issue.
So the symptom, if they have the problem, was what?
A third-party email software that has a Comcast email in it not being able to send or not being able to receive or send.
Yeah. So you could access it directly through the website, no problem, and that's what they would recommend you do.
So
and
would your email just stop working?
Either just the sending or both, yeah.
Okay, so you had
Yeah.
a device and you have Comcast and your email just one day stopped working the way it was supposed to. You can
Right.
still get it through the website, but your devices...
Of course, over the years, I've had enough
Might just stop.
I had weird problems with Comcast where you had to go into the online email and change the name of your folders in order to get them to show up in your third-party program. And that was the solution, was you just renamed them.
Right.
You didn't change anything else. But it had to be some sort of migration from an old
Right.
system to a new.
But this
Yeah.
time, this
This time,
instance,
it's just the not sending was the most common
so
one.
you couldn't fix it. It had to come from
Right.
Comcast.
Yeah,
It
so
was on there.
the two of us together, we put in a lot of time into trying to resolve it, but it was just something where we could try any program, a different computer. You know for sure the email and password was correct because you could go to the website, log in, no issue.
Right.
So at that point, it was giving us a very particular error about SMTP, which stands for Safe Mail Transfer Protocol, and it has to do with sending emails out. So at that point, people were receiving the emails, but they couldn't
Yeah,
reply.
one of the cases, Comcast said they're going to reset some things over on their end, and then it worked. So we
Yeah.
knew the
Right,
ball
right,
was in their
right,
court,
right.
and then it resolved.
But
Right.
sometimes it takes, seeing multiple people come into the store with the same problem
That's interesting. Yeah.
is what we recognize, okay, this is not just Joan or Bill or whatever we see. Now we see a pattern, probably like the same thing with CrowdStrike. Hey, my screen's blue screening.
Yes.
And next thing you know, more and more and more, and you realize, oh, this is coming from up the chain.
Yeah, otherwise, we did have a lot of people come in thinking CrowdStrike was messing with their machine, but it very much was not.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
But it's
that's
a
a
common
common.
confusion. Yeah.
So Comcast fixed their problem, and everybody else's problems went away simultaneously. So that's
Hopefully,
what's
yeah.
what was going on there.
But if you got them, then it doesn't have to be that. It's, sometimes the symptoms can be the same, and the cause could be different.
right.
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 Well, and sometimes people's emails just stop working for no particular reason on their third-party apps as well, and you just have to verify your email account and password and try to put that password back into the system, and sometimes that just resolves everything and gets it back up and running.
And
So
again, not important for everybody. Third-party emails are basically your Outlook, Thunderbird, those types of programs that manage multiple emails for you. Because
Right.
they're not owned by the company themselves, it leaves a room for handshakes not to go on in the background and for emails not to come in or different
Right.
various problems.
Right. Okay. All right. What else you got?
All right, next on
I mean,
we didn't even
we-
have a list last time, so
well, we can go off of it.
Yeah.
I guess we could pick and choose a
Auren
random
has
one
created
here.
a list of bullet points, and it's about a week old.
and we were winging it the
because
first time.
we had our own things, fires to put out and all. We're a small business, and we couldn't get to the podcast last week. So some of this stuff is a week old. It might not be today's news, but a lot of it actually applies to everybody. So
I think at
Maybe
this
more
point
generic.
we covered last week's news, so we
yeah,
can
we got
move on
last,
to the
We
future.
have now caught up with with the old news portion of our podcast.
Yeah.
Not something that probably a lot of technology companies concentrate on.
Yeah.
Old stuff.
Well, sometimes people run into things and then they just turn off their computer for a week and they say, I don't want to deal with it. I got other
Well,
things
that's
to do.
true.
So maybe
They
we
wake
can
up
help
today
somebody.
ready to solve it, and we solved it for them.
Yeah.
So
All right. So let's go ahead and do what operating system do you prefer?
okay.
Do you have a favorite?
So absolutely, I have to choose Windows because Windows operates. There are so many software programs. Apple's a great product, so it's all the Apple people love Apple products, love Apple hardware. All the Linux people, a total fan of Linux. I feel like most of the world should be using a Linux operating system. By far, the majority of the people in the world should be using a Linux operating system. For people like me who deal with a lot of multimedia, who have a lot of programming applications, a lot of industry-specific solutions, right? That's really the key phrase. Then you need to buy that program that serves that industry, and if it only runs in Windows, you can't have a Linux or an Apple, period. But the less that's your world, people that are getting email and visiting websites, shopping online, email, banking, all those kinds of things, which is photos and maybe some photo editing. By
If
far,
all
the
those
majority
programs,
in Linux.
if all those programs came out in Linux, would you not be saying Windows?
Absolutely. If all the programs I need to use were available in Linux, that'd be the end of it. Love you, Microsoft.
I think you're really saying
but-
that you like Windows or Linux.
Well,
more
I
than
do, but I
Windows.
can't. But it's not an option for me. Now, by far, the majority of the world's web servers that host websites are hosted on a Linux environment, including our website, CompuMatter.com. But the industry-specific applications dictate what you must use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
It's for use case. I mean, the Apple, I'm mainly using Windows myself, but for the Apple environment, I do like how clean it is. With the same company making the hardware and the software, you have less bugs. You typically do have a shorter support window because they want you to buy new stuff, and they're really good at doing that. But aside from that, the less bugs, the slick interface, and free GarageBand.
Yeah, that's
I
huge.
do like Apple for all those things, but Windows still has it for me too, because I'm on the gaming side of things, and so I tend to need all those applications.
So that would be the gaming industry from that vantage
and
point.
doing mods and installations of third-party software in gaming. You can do that in Windows a lot easier, especially once you become familiar with it. I wouldn't want to change operating system and then start learning all that stuff again.
All right.
Yeah, it's
And
tough.
what about you?
You know, I've had a bit of experience, less so with Linux, although working with a lot of them, I have a bit more hands-on experience with that and what the desktop experience is like. But I've worked with an Apple laptop. It's all right. I really enjoyed, for the most part, GarageBand and iMovie. Those just being built in were really nice features. But I
wonder
do
what
gaming.
how Windows would do with releasing something like that, a free GarageBand type program.
Yeah.
Might give them some converts that they don't have.
There's a lot of people who want who go into that environment because of it.
Right.
But then again, Apple charges enough to they could give you some free software for how much they charge for the hardware.
Exactly. I mean, I think Windows 11 has something called Clipchamp now, if you've heard of that, for video editing, but I haven't tested it out enough to know if it's actually anything good, but it's an interesting one.
Windows has gotten a lot more stable over time. It used to be that blue screens and viruses and things of that nature were commonplace. I think we're looking at a browser off screen over here to look up something.
I was just checking out the Clipchamp. Like
Yeah.
she
The what?
mentioned. The
Clipchamp,
Clipchamp
yeah.
that she just mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just saying what it looked like.
They're just wondering why everybody's heads are going that way. I just wanted to kind
What's
of
that?
let them know what
I mean, you
we
can
know.
show them.
Oh.
Or,
Okay.
yeah.
You know, the Windows operating system has become, you know, I come from a place where blue screens and viruses and malware were such a problem that people, we watched it in CompuMatter.
Yeah.
People starting moving en masse towards the Apple operating system because they were done with viruses and malware. And Apple didn't have that problem, in part because of Apple and Linux, their stability and having guarded against it. But the reality is, if you're a virus, if you're selling a product, or you've created a piece of software, maybe for the general public, good or bad, you're going to want to market that to the largest audience possible. And Windows is the largest audience possible. So here you go with my virus, it's all packaged up, ready to go. I'm going to target my largest operating system audience, which is Windows.
And that's why Windows has the most.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's really what it boils down to. And they were probably more prone and let their guard down and let companies like Norton Antivirus and other virus companies protect their operating system. They kind of gave it off to them in the old days. At some point, they realized they were drowning in those types of issues, and it was giving them a black eye. So they took control of the antivirus problem with Microsoft Defender, and have improved that to the degree where, it's a strong product
and frankly,
stable operating
avoiding the stuff is fairly simple. You know, you're not downloading anything from any websites you don't know. When you are downloading something, you're verifying the parent website is definitely the owner of the software and the company. And then even then, simple stuff that you can do is make a second user with standard account, and then have the administrator account that you're not logged into, so that if something does manage to get into the computer, it's in a standard user and it doesn't have access to everything else in the machine.
I'd like to bubble up with that for just a moment. I think let's talk about what each one of us does, because we all get email. We get the links. We get the potential dangers that come with stepping on a landmine,
The spam,
malware, right?
spam texts, spam calls, emails.
So you get, or let's just start with you. You get an email that, and your antennas are up the way they always are, right? So what's that decision-making process look like, so maybe the viewers can consider looking at things in a similar fashion?
Well, I guess it depends on the email we're talking about. If it's something where it says free gift card as the subject line, I probably won't even open it. However, if it's something where it looks like it was from a user I may know, if I open it up and it looks like they have a link, they don't really have very much text that says anything like, hello, this is the purpose of what I'm sending you. And if you hover over the link, if it doesn't actually direct you to where the link says it's going to go, that's a big red flag. So I'd recommend also just being careful not to download anything from an email if you don't know the purpose of it.
Give me an example of an email in your particular case that has caused you to think twice? It was interesting enough, and it caught your demographic, and just enough to where you may have given it a little bit more thought before you second guessed and went in a different direction.
Right. I mean, in some cases, a really big one is if you get an email from, say, Amazon, supposedly, or something saying that you've ordered a really big item that you definitely did not order, and to click this link to cancel that transaction if this looks fraudulent to you.
Yeah.
That's a very common one that a lot of people get. Like an iPad or a laptop, something that looks like, oh, that's a very big purchase, I should resolve this now, and it kind of puts that fear factor into you where you want to go and resolve that issue right away. Now, what I'd recommend is I'm at the point now where I check my bank account first and foremost, and also go directly to the website rather than clicking on any link in those emails, even if it looks legitimate and is from a good sender.
In that example, just following through to the end of that, you get that Amazon link. It's about canceling an order that you made, that you look at, and it's possibly in the list of orders that you might have made because you buy for the store sometimes through them, right?
Yeah.
What do? Do you click on the link and follow it? Or what do you do next at that point?
So at that point, I do not click the link. I close down the email and I go directly to the Amazon website, amazon.com. I log in with my credentials. After, you won't be following the link, so you'll be going straight to the legitimate page. And then you can check your order history from there and see if that purchase that the email was talking about is actually in there. If it's not, then it's a scam. But you can also check your bank account too, just to verify that some $400 purchase didn't actually go through or isn't pending on your account.
Yeah, and if you just go to, if you're on your smartphone, you can go to Amazon's app. That's a safe way to look at your account, see if anything's wrong. Aside from that, going to their website directly, not transferring anything.
So using the phone, I was thinking of that as she was talking.
A separate
you
device
feel
will
comfortable
disconnect.
in that email program clicking on that very same link.
No, I said using your phone instead of, I was talking instead of your computer looking at the email.
Understood.
You pull out your phone and go to the app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't click on any link.
Go to the Amazon app.
It's a separate device and it's the app.
See, I'm willing to risk it on an email like a lot of different emails that are going to blow up your Windows computer, right? Because that's the target audience. Is not going to blow up your iPhone, is not going to blow up your Android device.
Right, it doesn't have the same permissions.
The whole operating system is completely different. So you just don't have the same vulnerabilities. And
I'd say I still wouldn't take the chance.
If I think of something that's on the line, I'll sometimes open it with my iPhone and not worry about it. Throw caution to the wind.
Well, you're not downloading an attachment, or else
now,
you
it's
get
not my bank account, mind you. If it's my bank account. Of course, they don't have much to get out of my bank account anyway.
There is one risk,
less of a risk than a lot of people.
We do have a question. What antivirus do you think is the best?
Personally, I'm still going to go with Hitman Pro Alert.
Okay.
Hitman Pro Alert.
I mean, we still use that in a lot of our different services here at the office. It is a powerful program. I don't know much about their live protection, though.
Yeah, that's the alert.
That's the alert.
Yeah, okay. Hitman Pro by itself is just going to, you can scan it anytime you want. But Hitman Pro Alert is looking at the perimeter and will, if something's coming in, something's dumped into memory that it recognizes a pattern that it's seen before in its database, it lets just like any of the other virus programs. But that's my personal favorite.
Yeah, as far as the antivirus programs, I don't really rely on any of them as much as my knowledge, and I would probably advise everybody get smart about scams and all the risks that are out there in software, more so than just relying on a program, because none of them are going to be bulletproof. Regardless of how much money you spend, there is no amount of programs out there you could put on your machine that would make me feel like I don't still need to check links and make sure I'm not downloading stuff from various websites.
What about you?
I would probably say the same. I've experienced Windows security is good at catching a lot of things so long as you keep it up to date. And Hitman's really good. Malwarebytes can also catch some things. I wouldn't recommend getting anything like Norton, just because you're basically putting bloatware on your system. You're getting pop-ups all the time. it's kind of meant more to scare you rather than anything
Yeah,
with
and
all
that's
the
a good
pop-ups
point.
they're getting.
Norton has gotten into driver updater programs and a bunch of other software. So there's all these
Yeah.
pop-ups that come up that are associated with it. I don't think that Norton's necessarily a bad antivirus. I'm just
Right.
not a fan of all the stuff running in the background and my system speed coming down as a result of my antivirus when I know they're all not bulletproof.
Yeah, there's a saying where the cure is worse than the disease, and at the point where your antivirus software is slowing your entire computer down by 10%, 15%, or whatever that number is, all day, every day, we just want it out of there.
Right, and I have a faster computer, so Norton's not that big of a deal, but I do have customers that come in and they are slow as molasses, and they just think that's their computer, and you remove Norton and it immediately speeds up, and they think you're a miracle worker.
So, your computer, which antivirus software do you use on it right now, and why?
Windows security. Mostly just due to the fact that I'm very careful about what I click on, and if ever I do get concerned, I just run a full scan on it, and for the most part, it's really good at cleaning stuff up. Also checking your browser extensions, that's a big one if you're concerned, and if something doesn't look like it's loading properly on your browser, or if you see it redirecting you on all these different websites. It's a good sign that you might have some sort of infection to check on. So just like Douglas said, the awareness is really what helps you.
There's a lot of junk programs out there that aren't necessarily viruses, but they're just as annoying in a lot of cases.
Yes.
So what about your computer? What do you use and why?
I use the built-in antivirus from Windows, but it's a slightly different reason because I don't trust any of them. Like I said, none of them are bulletproof. I do prefer the Microsoft one because they're doing it for free and it's built into the operating system and its updates are built into your automatic updates. So if a new virus hits the streets tomorrow, they have more skin in the game. They have an entire team of people that are trying to come up with the solution and then immediately distributing it to your machine without your choice, which is kind of the lame part about Windows updates. I'm sure we're all familiar with that in the Windows environment. But the good news is they force the updates that are good for you as well. So you don't have to wait around for third-party antivirus programs to figure it out.
Yep.
And then if I have to imagine, they're most likely recouping their money, their lost money from doing this service for free by then selling those solutions to other third-party antiviruses. So I actually still think Windows most likely gets them first, and then they're selling them out to the third parties afterwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my case, I as well am just using the standard Microsoft software, whatever's built in, Microsoft Defender. Make sure it's turned on. No, I don't use OneDrive. So I don't turn that feature on. There's a few things that they say they warn you against because they want you to go down the rabbit hole to get some other piece of software. No, but yeah, it's lean and mean, and the most important thing is your instincts. Their instincts, my instincts. We're careful about what we click on. We assume it's going to blow up if we're not familiar with what it is and govern ourselves accordingly.
Research will always tell you that too. If you're looking stuff up, you just got to ask the question multiple different ways, reword it. You will most likely find out if a certain website is a scam or some link is fraudulent. It's usually well known.
And call us. I mean, our number's in the top right corner of your screen. Keep it. If you've got somebody from India or you've Googled something and you end up thinking you've gone to Google and you've typed in Microsoft support and you get an 800 number and you dial it, the odds of you actually ending up at Microsoft are probably 1,000 to 1 against. You can end up with some company that are on the search engines and they promoted themselves and they're going to try to separate you from your money.
But most likely you'll be on a robot loop, just talking to a robot, passed on to the next robot, and then maybe get somebody in the wrong department and then get transferred.
That's the real Microsoft
Yeah.
is you're talking to a robot half the time. If you get straight to a person, something's wrong.
Yeah, you probably didn't get a hold of Microsoft if you get a real person on the phone.
So speaking of robots, I know your fiance, your husband-to-be is in the robotics industry, but that's not the robot I'm talking about right now. Artificial intelligence. Have you heard about that?
A little bit.
Well, it pops up every now and then.
So AI is being sold worldwide now as the way to introduce customers to your business with whatever their needs are. So you're actually communicating with a voice on the other end of the line that you think is a human that is not a human. And they're making decisions based on whatever you're saying. They're asking you new questions based on what you're saying. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I heard at one time a company did a really good job at it. They actually had the sound effects of typing in the background.
Oh, well, that to me is an obvious, that's
Well,
bullshit.
they went the extra 9 yards, and they had people in the background talking that weren't real.
Oh
And
my
you,
gosh.
You could get a feel
Okay.
for the
It
entire
depends on the
room.
quality. Too much
It sounded-
clicking,
no,
mechanical
it was,
keyboard
it-
stuff.
The clicking only came up whenever they stopped talking. So they would say something, and then
Right.
I would say something,
Right.
and then you'd hear.
Right.
They did a good job. I knew it was a robot because of the way that the voice was staying consistent in the same tone,
Right.
but it was very believable.
Are you familiar with any of this?
I don't think I've actually called somebody that I've just known them to be a robot right away, so I
Right.
don't think I've had that. Would you
It took
remember?
me like halfway through the conversation before I even figured it
Wow.
out.
Eventually, they're going to get
Yeah.
so good at it. I mean, it's just got to happen, right? Everything's
Yeah.
improvements and iterations, and that's the nature of technology. Eventually, they will get so good at it that you have no way to know that it's not a robot that you're talking to. And I think at that point, the question becomes, should there be a law where it identifies that it's not a robot right up front?
You mean it identifies that it is a robot?
Like, hello,
Either
I'm
one.
powered by
Yeah,
AI.
either one.
You could call me whatever, and then proceed
Right,
with the
right. I'm
I'm
conversation.
going to start answering the phone
Right.
like, hello, this is Douglas, a real human being.
Oh no.
Right.
I'm sure that'll weird people out.
Yeah. I swear.
I swear.
swear.
All right? And then, well, I think it's called the Turing test. If the AI or the robot can be perceived as a human, that was the test. Was some scientist whose last name was Turing, and he made the test
Right,
to formulate whether or not AI would get that advanced. And that's one of the tests they use to see how sophisticated your artificial intelligence is.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Okay.
interesting.
If I could take a look, I want to get back to AI, but I don't want to ignore these people since we don't have
we
to
got
ignore
another
them. Knobi 4 is great training and awareness. It's pricey. There may be a free version out there. Knobi, KNOWBE,
Yeah.
number 4, training and awareness.
I'll check it out.
Great thing.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but you know that's something for our viewers to take a look at. We're not sponsoring it or recommending it. We know nothing about it, but it's a
It's certainly not
conscious
recommending it. It's
Yeah.
just, I just heard about
That
it.
Just
could be
repeating
somebody
it.
from India dropping that in or not chat. I don't know.
No,
Probably
that's
not.
Joanne
No, that's-
Lopin.
Was that Joanne?
Yeah.
Joanne, I know Joanne's not from India. Okay. Joanne's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, well, I'll
So
definitely
no
look into
before is a
that.
good one.
We need to
And-
get.
Yeah, that looks good.
We need more resources. For,
And FYI, we have training here at the store. So if you ever want one-on-one training, it's something that we can do remotely, no matter where you are in the country or the world. We can look at your computer together with you at the same time and teach you things from here. Maybe teach you how to guard against some of the things that we're describing. We also offer one-on-one training here in the store if you want to come on in and sit with one of us and learn about something in specific.
And I think the big thing is if you are interested in doing one-on-one training, everybody has vast different amounts of knowledge they want to learn. If you write down questions, it'll make it easier for us to make more efficient use of your time and get you the knowledge you'd like.
And if they need training remotely or coming in here, advanced preparation, how do they get the most for their money?
Well, I mean, on general training, antivirus, stuff like that, it's not as much of a big of a deal. If you want specific program training, then you most likely have to give us a heads up so I can either do the research ahead of time and know how to answer most of the questions you're going to hit me with, or if it's a program that is, 3D animation and design and I've never seen it before, chances are I'm probably not the guy for the training.
Right.
That being said, I still have had many times where I'm using a program I've never used before, and I am able to help somebody through, the different types of settings because I've been working with computers long enough to where sometimes I still can't help you out.
Right. And you, what do you think as far as training preparedness? What should they have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would say another thing to note is we can't do them immediately. So if you give us a call, we wouldn't be able to stop and help you out. But if you give us a call, typically 24 hours notice, if we don't already have an appointment slot taken for the next day, that would be my recommendation. And like he said, a list of questions really helps both you and us just have a better idea of what it is you want to get from your appointment and learn.
You could bring up a list of 5 things, and then with knowing those 5 questions, I could build a little bit of a education plan on the type of direction you were going with those questions.
I'd like to weigh in on that a little bit. In my own experience, is every time that you in your world right now are using your computer and you get to some point of frustration, something failed, you got rejected, rejection's part of this business, at that moment, write it down. This is something I need to figure out. Because that's going to happen every day, all day. You're going to get rejected in little ways. Keep a notepad, write them down. It won't take long where you've got a nice long list of things. God, I hope that they can help me figure out these things.
Right.
And you'll walk in with that, and we're going to make them all disappear. And then you can start a whole new list for the next time.
Oh, and always bring some scratch paper so you can write down some of the answers so that you have that to refer to, and it's not just all in the brain.
I'd like to back up to AI just a moment and retrace that a little bit, because there's a lot of people in the world that have, the conspiracy theorists that are afraid that it's going to take over the world, and they're guarding against it. That's their number one job, is to guard against it. And I just kind of like to address how we feel individually, since we're in the business up to our eyeballs. And I'll finish it off. Let's start with you. Get your thoughts on the pros, cons. What's your overall take on AI?
I would say, first of all, it's an incredibly powerful tool. Like any sort of powerful tool, we need to be cautious with it and have a lot of different regulations in place. I know a lot of artists have been having trouble with AI stealing their art and then regenerating it. So there are definitely some cons to it. But I can also see, especially in the IT industry with viruses and scams, we could probably utilize AI in a lot of different ways to help stop that sort of thing. And it also is a huge benefit in a lot of other different fields, I'm sure. So I would say the benefits, for the most part, in my opinion, outweigh the cons, so long as we are aware of everything and doing our best to not prevent chaos.
Yeah, as long as there's not an army of them, right?
And that, yeah.
Well, I think we can assume there's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, so there's the fear of robots being put into the wrong situation is the same with any technology. There's the potential for good and bad. I view it the same way I think I'll view robots in the future, is who built it and who made the programming and who made the chips, and then I'll have an idea of how much I trust that robot specifically. Right. So same thing with the software. There's good guys and bad guys out there. I hope that it releases a bunch of tactics for us to be able to shut down a lot of the scam operations around the world, but it's also going to be making a bunch of new scam operations around the world. So I got to have faith in good people making good decisions, and that's really all you can do aside from just not abuse this stuff yourself. I still say thank you to the AI when I ask it questions and ask it to get me information.
That'll wear off.
Not out of fear, but out of respect for, I also don't want to lose my humanity over time of just being able to snap my fingers and make something happen. We need to keep that humanity going, and I feel like that disconnects us from nature as time goes on.
I used to say thank you. So I use.
You need to say thank you to the AI overlords.
I used to say thank you. I use AI probably more than the majority of the people. It's certainly more than anybody else.
When it's very helpful.
All day,
I tend to
every
say
day.
it more. I very much appreciated that, and then I'll move on.
But it's as a programmer, as a server administrator. Questions are nonstop all day, every day. It is the biggest gift that I have had personally in my world in decades. Just to be able to, I hire freelancers all over the world, and have for the last couple of decades. Every time I have a pocket of knowledge that I don't know, but I know I need to implement it in our technology, and I need to get somebody involved that has the knowledge, and we work through it together in Zoom meetings, and eventually we garner the knowledge, I document it, we move on to the next thing. With AI, I just, what about this? And it gives me an answer. What about this? And it gives me, it's not always the right answer. Sometimes it's a rabbit hole. But most of the time, it's good, solid knowledge that improves whatever I'm trying to implementing. For $20 a month, and I pay for the upgraded version. And I'm going to subscribe for the company to have the upgraded version because it's going to be valuable to us in all the things that we do. Now, the distrust level, what are they doing with all these questions and answers that I've provided to them? They're storing it in a database. They know everything about me at this point. I've asked so many questions on so many subject matters. They know my likes, dislikes. I don't ask any political questions there, but Google's got that taken care of. But, you know, the bad versus the good, I remember when the internet first came out, because I am that old, when you know, back in for the public consumption, which would have been late 80s, early 90s for all practical purposes, and people were having the very same conversations.
Yeah, the mistrust.
First of all, is it real or isn't it real? And once they started to realize it was real, is it bad or is it good? Is it dangerous or is it... and I imagine when the printing press, the same thing came out. I would imagine...
Be able to affect the minds of hundreds of thousands of people, one person's thoughts in a book.
And I think the reality is there's always the good of humanity and the bad of humanity, and the snake oil salesman in the days before any of this existed would just move to the next town when people started to find them out, right? And then they'd repeat the process over and over. And a new scam, and once the snake oil became known by everybody, so nobody was buying it anymore.
Then it was something else.
Right? Humanity is going to think of the next scam to sell from town to town to town. You know, it might be funeral homes, it might be automobiles, whatever it is. And so that's just the good and bad of humanity, and artificial intelligence just reflects that.
Yeah.
But I hope it goes in a good direction. I'd like to see a lot of the scam stuff come to an end where we can find them, locate them through whatever VPN network. You know, as much as the anonymity is great for people and their privacy, the anonymity in the scamming world is the only reason we can't get in touch with any of them.
It's a mouse trap.
Yeah.
But boy, the benefits to the medical industry for researching and the benefits to, I mean, the legal industry, there's so much information that's in artificial intelligence that I'm all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still uneasy about it, but the shop is opening up and we got to get back to work.
What time is it?
We do have one last question here, it looks
we got another question?
Your training is you can't safeguard against us as users. Know your links, learn to recognize extra characters. If I did not have the constant training from our IT department, I'd be on a plane to Anacortes for this instruction. It's priceless. Thank you for this video. That's beautiful.
That's sweet. Thank you, Joanne.
Joanne, you sound like a wonderful person. The kind that I'd keep for a lifelong friend. So I appreciate your good words. And Joanne and I have known each other since she was in diapers. So I'll put that one out there for Joanne. Back in the days of Upham Street in Lowell, Massachusetts, my hometown.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to open the shop.
We'd like to do this all day. I think we really enjoy
here.
this. But yeah, next time. We're trying to make this a regular thing. So our goal is every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. rather, and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We missed the last week. We haven't pulled it off mainly because
it's technology, and then we're also developing the new server technology, and it comes with its own hoops to jump through.
Yeah, I've been working on backup software for the last month of my life, trying to implement the state-of-the-art backup software for our business service that we're going to be selling, and finally got that behind us. So we should be able to normalize this process a little bit more, and see you Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So
I won't be
mark
here,
your
though.
calendars. Oh, wait a second.
I'll be gone.
Oh yeah, she'll be gone. We'll be here.
Yeah, she's getting married, and so
I have a good excuse.
she's going to be getting out of Dodge. Right. Should we give her the address of the wedding so everybody can come?
No.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And we'll be down here if you need any help with anything.
All right, now how do I turn this thing off? There we are. Boom.